Welcome to Let Them See You, the podcast that honors educators, the everyday heroes shaping futures with courage and heart. I'm your host, Sarah Hightower. This is your space to recharge, find joy, and embrace your power. Hey, we back at it again, episode 3. Whispers that move mountains. The reason why this is such an important episode is because not only do I know tons of people and have noticed this in a lot of awesome leaders, but I'm one of the people who was a quiet voice at first until I learn and listen and determine the best route forward. So this is an important episode, especially as school is getting ready to start again. You're going to have possibly new teams, new teammates. So it's important to think about the different types of leadership that might be a part of your team. But before we get started, I just want to talk about very quickly how music gets stuck in your head. Even if you're not a musical person, music can get stuck in your head. It could be the fact that it was on TV and there was a commercial, and in that commercial, whatever they were advertising, you internalize the song, and for like the rest of the day, here you are singing the song. And sometimes you can't even remember where you heard it. For example, today, I'm sitting at work and I think to myself, get into my car. I don't know where I heard the song. I don't even know when I heard the song, but it popped in my head and it was in my head the entire day. Now that right there is marketing, because every time I think of the song, I think of a car or buying a car, maybe Mazda. So think about that as you listen to music or listen to any type of advertisement. It works. Advertising works, okay? Especially the ones that include some type of jingle, song. That advertisement will get you somewhere, because I can't forget this song. It's still in my mind right now. Okay, so moving right along. Whispers that move mountains. It's so poetic sounding, right? It's because it is a poetic thing. When you think about different parts of a team, there's always at least one that's like, okay, here we go. We're doing this, we're doing that. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you have the one that's like, wherever we want to go, just let me know. I'll be there. Just detail it all out and I'll show up with what I need. I'll be there. And then you might have the one that is like, I ain't doing none of that. Y'all gonna get what y'all gonna get when y'all get it. And that's that. Then you may have the one that is willing to put in the work, that is the quiet contributor, that always gets a positive review. They just aren't the one that sticks out or stands out. That's the one we're talking about today. They all can be an important piece of the puzzle, an important piece to the team, because even the one that was like, I'm not doing it, I ain't gonna do it, they come around and they do it. And oftentimes they do it well because they're inspired by those around them, which is the importance of a team. But it's that quiet leader that we really want to focus on today, because they deserve some shine. And quiet leaders have a lot to say, but you won't catch it if you're not listening. You got to catch it. You got to pay attention. They got something to say. All right, let's listen to those whispers that move mountains. So I'll be honest. I asked Chad. Who is Chad? Chad is the homie. He's one of my friends, Chat GPT. If you haven't heard, lots of people call him Chad. There's names that people give these AI things all the time. But in my workplace and what we've all agreed upon is Chad. That's where we're going with. So I asked Chad, What are some attributes of quiet leaders? What makes them so strong? And Chad said, one, he gave it 5. And here's one. When it comes to teaching and it comes to teachers, quiet leaders are those teachers who observe first and then they speak with intention later. So they're not always going to say something right away as part of the conversation, but when they do say something, it's going to be directly connected to what y'all are talking about, and it's going to probably move the needle in the direction that keeps everybody going forward. That's one way that they have quiet leadership. Another way is the new teacher who doesn't challenge, but they create. That means in a group setting, they're just not necessarily comfortable going against the grain, going against what everybody may have agreed with. They may not be comfortable going against what the staff is discussing because they're new and they're not sure that it's the right thing, or they don't want to ruffle any feathers. Well, that same person will go into their classroom and quietly shift things and try it on their own and see how it works. And many times it works great. And people come to them and ask them how they did it. And they implement it in their room. That is quiet leadership. It happens all the time. I saw it this past school year with a brand new teacher who did not teach and plan like a brand new teacher. Phenomenal teacher. You would never know he was brand new. Another way that Chad described quiet leadership in teaching was the veteran who affirms privately. So there's that vet teacher who's been doing it for 15 years plus, right? And they see something that's said or done, and instead of affirming whoever said or did it in front of everyone, because they know that maybe that's not the time or place, or maybe that person is uncomfortable being called out, even positively in front of other people, they catch them in a moment by themselves and say, hey, that was great today. What you did was something special, or what you did was the right thing. And what you said could be helpful to others, even me. I appreciate it. When a veteran teacher tells you that you are doing something well, it matters. It really does. People take that to heart. So that is quiet leadership. Even if that veteran doesn't speak up in front of everyone else, if they come to you behind the scenes and let you know that you're on the right track, you probably are. That's good stuff. Number 4, the staff member who builds trust behind the scenes. So there are people that kind of fade away, or you don't notice them because they don't stand out positively or negatively. They're just there. They're not the loud talkers or the first talkers or the premier idea givers or the visionaries or the ones who are the most crafty and always bring things, or the treat giver. They already have snacks and water and everybody loves them for it. They just are kind of there to do the job and they get out. But they are a staff member who people trust. They talk to them. People might vent to them. They might be able to keep people from colliding in any way. They know how to prevent conflict. They know how to be that voice of reason for the team, but they do it behind the scenes. So the principal and the AP never know. A lot of people around the campus don't know unless others tell them. They're just in the background, quietly keeping things afloat and keeping other people from crashing out. They're like, hey, it's going to be okay. Let's try this. That's leadership. It might be a soft skill, but it's leadership. Soft skills matter too. Those matter too. So that's a fourth form of quiet leadership that could be present in you or someone you know or someone on your team. And then the last and final one that Chad provided was the department member who doesn't push back in the room but sends the email. So there's that one that, when things are maybe heated, maybe people don't agree with it, and there's an actual disagreement happening in front of everyone. But this person, instead of participating in the disagreement, they kind of sit back, listen, watch, and nod and understand what the actual root of the issue is. And then as everyone leaves, they're the person that is able to build consensus among what everyone felt and get it in writing and share it with the powers that be to say, this is how we felt, this is what we think, and here's what we think could work as far as resolving the conflict. What are your thoughts? They're able to put that into words that they weren't able to say at the time. Sometimes people need a moment to just think and figure out what might be the best way forward. Everyone's not right there with it right away. Some people need a second. Let me think. Hold on. It happens all the time. As you grow in leadership and as you grow as a person, it gets faster, but maybe not. Maybe sometimes that is just the way you think, and that is just the way you process, and that is okay. So those were 5 ways that Chad described quiet leadership. It was the teacher who observes first and speaks with intention. It was the new teacher who doesn't challenge, but they create on their own and people emulate it. There's the veteran who affirms privately. There is the staff member who builds trust behind the scenes. And then there is the department member who doesn't push back in the room, but they will send the email. They will let, whoever needs to know what's going on and possibly try to find a solution that works for everyone. Definitely necessary on any and every team. You can probably think of some shows that encompass characters that are like these quiet leaders. I can think of Abbott Elementary, of course, where, of course, we're watching a television show and people on the show have to share their personality because as a viewer, you don't get to know who they are if they're not saying or doing something, right? For the most part, you can pretty much pick out who's speaking up, who's not speaking up, who's the go-to person as far as the voice for the team, who's in the background making it all work. You can pick out who the characters are. I'll likely put them on the screen for you. So that's just one way that you can think through quiet leadership and whispers that move mountains. I can also think of people that I've personally worked with. I work with a few right now, and I myself have been one, who whenever they join in on the action, whether it be a conversation, whether it be something we're doing, they bring a perspective that is brilliant. It never fails. It's like, wow, I didn't even think about that. That is a great point, because oftentimes when people move quickly, things are forgotten or things are left off or things just weren't necessarily considered in that way. And those quiet leaders are able to speak up and share an alternative that could actually work, sometimes better. That is huge. I also want to share with you an article by Benjamin Laker. He is a senior contributor to Forbes for leadership strategies. So Benjamin Laker has a background in leadership, and he's got a PhD in the things, right? You want to have a perspective from someone who has done research. So someone who knows what they're talking about and you can trust because they've done the work and they've done the digging to share what they know. So here's what Benjamin said in an article in Forbes published October 14th, 2024. It's called The Quiet Transformative Power of Introverted Leaders. Let that sink in. I'm going to read it again. The Quiet Transformative Power of Introverted Leaders. Now, that word transformative is important because transformational leadership is not only a buzz phrase, but it is something that leads one to think about impact. When you think about transformational leadership, you are now thinking about what impact does this person have on the organization? And to have an impact on the organization, you have to be able to move things. You make things shift. So let's see what he had to say about quiet leadership. So one thing he does as he starts off is that he talks about the misconception of leadership and how people often confuse leadership automatically with extroverts. Oh, you have to be an extrovert to be a leader. No one else really is a very good leader unless they're an extrovert, meaning they're comfortable being outwardly expressive about their thoughts and feelings. Well, some leaders are that, and some really great leaders are that. I know a few. But I want to align with Benjamin in that extroversion, I'm going to leave it in. Extroversion doesn't necessarily equal great leader. There are other things that have to be in place. We'll get there. Introverts can also be just as wonderful. They thrive in environments, in situations where you have to be reflective and deep and think deeply. You have to take a moment and really synthesize information that builds upon itself so that you can come to a conclusion that makes sense in the grand scheme of things. Introverts do really well with that. Why? Because they're quietly analyzing the things already before you ever started talking, before this whole project ever started. They were already analyzing and figuring out what could work and how. They've already got ideas. They're just listening right now to add what they're hearing and learning to their repertoire of information. It's amazing how the brain works that way. They are also able to collaborate well with others because they don't have to immediately take the lead. It is important to have people on the team that are willing to take the lead. That is totally necessary. But it's also important to have people on the team that are willing to take a moment to allow that leadership to occur and allow for everything to start and begin and be a piece of the puzzle that comes in later or comes in with a different idea that may shift the puzzle a bit. It is okay to be that. There is nothing wrong with not being the first person to speak. That's fine. It is fine. So the quieter approach leads to thoughtful, strategic leadership oftentimes. So if you are someone who is saying, ooh, that's me, I tend to be quieter. I don't know. People always say I'm shy, but I don't think I'm shy. I'm not afraid of anyone. I don't even feel anxious. I'm listening. I'm observing. That doesn't make me shy. That's just how I learn. This is what I do. which is perfectly fine. That's fine. Do that. And then when you're ready to add to the conversation, add to the conversation. Because there's a strength in listening. One of the most powerful qualities of introverted leaders, Benjamin says, is their ability to listen. When we get back into the swing of things, it's fast. It's fast paced. You're moving, you're shaking. And it's very easy to not take a beat and listen to information provided. That can be detrimental to the entire team, the entire campus, the entire district, right? So we have to be sure that we listen like that. He also says the ability to listen is especially valuable in leadership because it fosters trust. Remember, we talked about that quiet leader who is in the background, listening to other people, what they have to say, and taking it in and analyzing it, and perhaps just being that ear, or if the person would like, providing some type of support in the form of, here's one way you might tackle this issue. They give them some guidance or some advice. They're pretty good about not providing unsolicited advice even. That is huge, because unsolicited advice could lead to consequences you didn't expect, right? Now the person is mad at you because you are providing this unsolicited advice. I didn't ask you what you thought. I just wanted you to hear me. There is a difference, right? So a lot of the time, those quiet leaders are able to just take a moment and will often ask, are you just wanting to vent, or do you want some advice? Because it could be either or. And sometimes the person that is sharing their thoughts doesn't even know. And that person asking the question could spark feelings of, you know what, I think I just needed to get it out. I'm actually okay. But thank you for listening. It's important to have those types of people. Then he gets into the power of thoughtful decision making. We talked about how you need to think about all the information that you have first before making moves. It's real and it's true. Introverted leaders tend to be more thoughtful and reflective in their decision-making processes. You don't just move without thinking, without a plan. Okay. Extroverts tend to thrive in those really quick, fast-paced environments, whereas introverts tend to not make as bold of a move. They tend to move with not necessarily caution, but with intention. So if they're going to move, I'm going to move one time. And I need that one time to be in the right direction, because I don't have time to have to do it all over again. That could be a quiet leader. They just want to make sure, hey, hold on. Let's make sure we got this thing right so we don't have to double back and fix it all because we didn't take the time to slow down and think. Another thing is leading through empathy. Empathy is important. Understanding that other people have feelings and they're going through things and thinking things that maybe they're not saying or telling you. But when you understand that other people's feelings are important as well, then you move a little differently and you say things in a way that doesn't discount what they may have shared. Empathy, it's not lost, but sometimes it gets buried underneath the plan, underneath the work, and things happen like misunderstandings because there was a lack of empathy in the moment. When you try to make things happen and you're on projects, it's easy to lose the human on the project. You're just thinking about the things. So empathy helps you keep the focus on the human first and then the work. That may be a very unpopular opinion, but I'm telling you what I think. People have feelings and people have thoughts, and no one wants to feel like those feelings and thoughts are swept under the rug. So that is why leading through empathy is a huge part of leadership. So what he ultimately concludes and shares is that you've got to strike a balance between introversion and extroversion in leadership. And the reason why I'm saying in leadership, and I'm gearing this whole podcast towards teachers, and hello, you're leaders. When I say leadership, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. You're a leader. You wouldn't be in that position if you weren't. I can't imagine any principal hiring a teacher if they don't view that teacher as a leader. They see something in you that can grow others. Those others happen to be little humans, but you are still a leader. And so this information could be put into practice to continue to grow your leadership. So strike that balance between introversion and extroversion. There will come a time where you, as a quiet leader, may say, I know how I feel and I know what's comfortable, but maybe I need to speak up a little bit because they don't quite know my story. They don't know what I can do because I don't always say it and I don't always show it. So when I have something to say, I'm going to work on saying it. Maybe not every time. Maybe every now and then. I'm just going to start slow. Maybe I'm just going to start in the team meeting. Or maybe I'm just going to start in the PLC. Or maybe I'm just going to start with going directly to my administrator and sharing some thoughts. But that is a step in the direction of more extroversion that you are striking a balance with. If you are the person who's already not having any issue with speaking up, like it ain't me, I'm not the one that sits back and doesn't say anything. I'm going to say something. Okay, if that's you, that's fine. But there also needs to be a balance for you as well. Think through the times where you spoke up first and there were other people in the room and they had some things to say. You all came to an agreement possibly or didn't, but there was some conversation. And then at the end of it, it was all said and done. Did you take a moment to sit back and carefully listen to what everyone had to say? Or did you just speak to speak and get your point across? There is a difference. Trying to balance what you're saying and what you're sharing with listening will help you with balancing your extroversion with introversion. You have to have both in order to be a transformational leader. You can't transform systems and processes without listening. And you can't transform systems and processes without speaking up and being the one to go first. It has to happen both ways. So he says, in the end, it's not about whether introverts or extroverts make better leaders. It's about recognizing the value that both bring to the table and understanding that leadership is most effective when it embraces a diversity of styles. Enough said, right? You got to have a well-rounded way of leading because then you encompass the thoughts and feelings and of everyone. Okay, great. So I want to now move us to the tip of the week. We're already here. And today's tip of the week is think of the voices that are missing and invite them into the conversation. I'm gearing this tip of the week to our extroverts because at the beginning of the school year, you're just getting to know your teams and things like that. It is very, very easy to move forward and plow ahead and leave someone behind. Even if you're not physically leaving them behind, you can be leaving behind their contribution. Take a beat and ensure that everyone's thoughts and feelings have had an opportunity to be added. That way, you can ensure the team has a consensus. Because we don't want later it to come bubbling up. Well, you didn't even ask me what I thought. It's like, well, you didn't say anything, right? But you didn't give them the opportunity to. It's that part. Okay. So I want you to just take a moment, think through, is there any voice that is missing? If it is, invite them in. Hey, Ben, what do you think? Hey, Sharon, what are your thoughts? That's it. That's it. Okay. So thank you so much for joining me on episode 3, Quiet Voices That Move Mountains. Please ensure that you are liking, sharing, commenting, following, all the things, ding, ding, ding. So do that so that we can continue to grow one another. And don't forget, when you come into somebody's house or you're at the party and you join it, introduce yourself. Be sure that you share who you are, what you do, so that we can get to know one another and build our network because we're working together, you and I. So with that being said, please rediscover your joy. Embrace your true self. Let them see you. Thanks for listening to Let Them See You. Until next time, climb with courage, stand in the light, let them see you.